What's up, friends? My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Ah! Welcome to Monday Night Madness. That was a gig I did last week. Check my Instagram for the finished ding dong. It's there. They just drop some music on top. I fly so good that, you know, you don't have to edit it. You just put it in there, you throw some music on it, and you're good to go. Gross. Who gave this guy a fucking live stream? Welcome to hell, my friends. Tonight we're going to take a look at the VCI 0702 29,000 kV motors from a freestyle standpoint. I had these on one of the RC drift car chasing rigs. It's actually this one right here. And the throttle resolution, where it made power on the throttle throw was just totally different than all of the Happy Model motors that I'm very used to. And so I started flying it like a lunatic, like lots of throttle, no throttle, lots of throttle, no throttle. And they were fun to fly around like that. But yeah, I just couldn't quite dial in on what was going on with them. So yeah, what I want to do is put them on a freestyle setup and fly them around here because I have way more batteries and way more experience flying in the basement and upstairs here than with the RC drift cars. So yeah, hopefully that will sort of help. What I need to figure out is, so for the record, if you've got extra motors and or if you want to like test motors, buy some extra frames and keep all of your extra motors in your extra frames. And that way, when you want to try these motors out, all you got to do is take one of your existing rigs, unplug the motors, pull these 4 screws, pop the AIO and the canopy up and off, drop it into the new frame, 4 screws, 4 motor plugs, and away you go. So much easier than 3, 6, 9, 12, pulling the props off, getting the motors all gangly out of there. You're putting stress on the wires and whatnot. So yeah. Keep a bunch of extra frame, and then you've got extra frames floating around too, which are always nice to have. These VCI motors, just like the Betaflight motors, are a little bit taller. They put the propeller up a little bit higher, and so I've decided to put these motors into a Meteor 65 airframe. One of my big complaints about, the biggest complaint about the Meteor 65 airframe previously was that it was very fragile. I'd been running Happy Model motors in it, and they're very short, and the propeller was significantly lower than the fat part of the duct here. And so 2 things happened. Whenever you would crash, the propeller would hit the standoffs here rather than skirt around the inside of the duct. So it was chunking up like the outside part of the propeller. But also, and maybe this could be why these were so fragile for me, is that this duct would have to take all of the impact because it would just pop right up over the propeller. And the failures that we kept getting were back here. There's a seam in the back of these ducts, and it just folds and folds and folds, and then just tears and breaks. And so yeah, I'm wondering if with and so I've spent some time with I've recently, over the last like 2 months, spent a little bit of time with Meteor 65 airframes and Betaflight motor 0702s. And I've not had that same situation that I did with the Happy Model motors where these frames were very fragile. I have heard from a lot of other people that these frames are fragile, so I know it's not just me. But the Meteor 65 airframe is very lightweight. And so, yeah, I'm with these VCI motors, since they're taller and because this frame is lightweight, that's the combination that I want to try to give these lower KV motors the best chance to impress me. 29,000 kV for most people is not low kV, but I'm a crazy person, and most of the rigs that I fly now are 32,000 kV, 36,000 kV, and 40,000 kV. So yeah, with these lower kV motors, I want to give them the best shot possible. So we're going lightweight frame. We're also going to go lightweight propellers and triblade propellers. We're going to do the HQ YOLO props. Speaking of, I need to pick a color for those propellers. Wait, hold on, maybe. The HQ YOLO props are super lightweight, but they don't make quite as much power as the GemFan 1219S's. So let's actually go with the GemFans, because they're only the tiniest little bit lighter, but yeah, they're going to make more power. And again, these are 29,000 kV. So for example, the ultra lightweight, fully tweaked Mobula 6 2024 version 1, I'm using the 1219 propellers, and these are 0702 28,000 kV motors. So yeah, let's use the more powerful propellers on this build. That'll make much more sense. So what color? So we've got smoke crotch gray, we've got like neon yellow, we've got red, we've got like this lavender purple. So far we've got green and orange. The red will look terrible, the neon green won't look right. Smoke crotch gray will be fine. The purple might look cool, but I only have one set of the purples. Let's go smoke crotch gray. It's a neutral color, and I have a set sitting right over here. The last pin vise has been sold, my friends. I was considering getting another batch of 10 and making another set of 10 pin vices, but it took me so long to sell this last pin vise that I feel like maybe everybody that's going to buy one has now already bought one. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm about to show you how wonderful the pin vise is, though. And so if there's a bunch of people that don't know what the hell I'm talking about and you're interested in it, I am willing to get a whole bunch of this stuff again and make a whole bunch more pin vices. But you guys got to let me know. You guys got to tell me that. So this is a double-ended pin vise. All a pin vise really is a little handle so that you can hold it, and then you put a drill bit in here. They make double-ended pin vices, and what's really cool about that is, for us, we can put a 0.99 millimeter drill bit in one side and a 1.5 millimeter drill bit in the other side. And when you get propellers, before you put them onto the motors, most propellers, the inner diameter is a little bit too tight. And so you have to really push them onto the motors, and that can very easily push the motor shaft down through the bell. And then when the bell spins, because that's where the magnets are, the motor shaft will not spin as fast, and it can cause all kinds of weird problems. And then eventually the two will completely part ways, and yeah, your rig is now stuck somewhere. So what you do with the pin vise is, before you put propellers on a rig, you just take them real quick and run them down the drill bit. That's all. Nothing crazy. You just want to take a tiny little bit of material off. There are certain propellers that you don't need to do this with, like the Gemfan 1210s. And most of these Gemfan 1219s, you actually don't need to do this on. But it's always a little bit safer to just kind of do this real quick. I'm doing this very, very gently. And basically, once the drill bit peaks out here and I can feel it on my left index finger, I stop and I back the drill bit out, you know, like top to the left so it doesn't remove any more material. That's because these Gemfan 1219s don't really need this. But like I said, it's always a little bit safer to do this. And if you do it super lightly like this, you're barely removing any material. The .99 drill bit is pretty like easy. If you run it a little bit too much, you'll be fine. The 1.5 millimeter drill bit you have to be a little bit more careful of because it's 1.5. So this is the one that you really need to like just be super gentle. Once you feel the drill bit on the end of your finger, i.e. it's poked all the way through the hub of the propeller, you're going to take it straight off and you'll be perfect with the 1.5. The .99, you can sit here and spin it and spin it and spin it and spin it. And since it's .99, it's, you know, there's still going to be that 0.1 mil, and you'll be good to go. So, yeah. And now you've got a set of propellers that have the proper inner diameter. Should we run this props in or props out? Let's do props in. I've been really moving damn near everything over to props in. And so now when I push these propellers on, it's like just the right amount of force to get them down onto the motor shaft, where like it's enough force where they're not going to fly off, but it's not so much force that you're going to damage the motors. You will, if you have not damaged a set of Tiny Whoop motors yet, you will. Basically, if you're ever in the situation where you're putting a propeller onto a Tiny Whoop motor and you're not able to just like simply drop it on there like this with like two fingers, if you're starting to move to your middle finger and you're starting to like pull it into your chest and like maybe go two-handed with it, stop. Like, you are going to destroy that motor. If you don't destroy it right now, you're going to destroy it when you pull the propeller off or the next time you put a propeller on. That is too much force. These motors are tiny and they're fragile and they're easy to ruin. And unfortunately, most Tiny Whoop motors, you can't just get one of. So when you wreck one of these motors, that's like a $40 mistake because you're going to have to get a full set of them. Not the end of the world because you're going to go through the motors anyway. You're going to break a bunch of them when you crash. But still, you know, it's just kind of one of those things. And sometimes you can get stuck with like 3 extra motors and it's just like, okay, this sucks. So VCI 0702s, they have the exact same length motor shaft as pretty much all the other motors. The way that I know that is that these Gemfan 1219Ss, the height of the hub is a little bit shorter to get the weight down, I'm guessing. And so when you put these propellers on to most motors, you sit here and you push them on and you got your finger flat against the top of it. And so the motor goes down. I don't really recommend spinning the motors, but spinning the propeller on, but sometimes you got to get it like kind of freed up. Okay, so now see how I started to go double fingers? Stop. That's when you stop. Let's use this Weebleed prop popper for the first time. So we put it on there. Works totally fine. Works just like all the other prop poppers. This propeller's too tight. If you're getting to that point where you're starting to really push on it, just stop it. Get your pin vise out. Run it down real quick. Just remove a tiny little bit more material. Bring it back up and off. Blow it out because there's going to be little shards of plastic in there. And then put it back on. And now it's good. The reason why I know that these propeller shafts are the same length as all the other ones is that these propellers with the shorter hub, when you push them on and you fully bottom them out, the motor shaft is exactly long enough to peak up. All right, come on, you bitch, focus. See that? So the motor shaft peaks up just enough above the hub of the motor, and you're pushing down with your finger where you go, ouch! and it's just, as soon as the prop fully bottoms out on the motor, which is really important, it just hurts for a second, and you have a little indentation on your finger, and you sit here and you rub it out, and then it's fine. That's what she said. So yeah, same length motor shaft as all the others. I wish I had weighed one of these motors, but they're already bolted up. I'm sure that they're about the same weight. The weight of the motors is not really something that we're super obsessed about or obsessed about at all. With Tiny Whoop motors, the name of the game is power and efficiency. And for some reason, the Happy Model motors, like all of the Happy Model 0702s, give more power and more efficiency, and it's just ridiculous. So thus far, like every single other motor that I have tested, and I have tested damn near all of them, just can't even come close. It's really, I don't know what Happy Model is doing, but they are just destroying everyone else in terms of Tiny Whoop motors. So what the motors weigh, the construction, what the, curved versus flat magnets, none of that matters, because the Happy Model motors just demolish on every other front. Hopefully these will be the first motors that can at least come somewhere close, because if somebody else can make motors that come close to the performance, then we can start thinking about, like, hey, are these other motors more durable? These VCI motors have bearings in them. Are the bearings a better bet for efficiency or smoothness or filter tuning, stuff like that? But at the moment, it's just crazy to not run Happy Model motors. They are just so much better in two of the most important aspects. So yeah, Betaflight, newbie drone, get it together, buy a bunch of Happy Model motors and tear them apart and figure out what the hell they're doing and just copy it. That's how things work. Don't try to figure it out on your own. Just steal. Everybody else does. Make a better product for us by stealing. Come on now. BLD with a $5 super chat. He says, blow it out. Come on, do it. Rub it out. Thank you, brother, for the support. In the chat, Slow Cow was first. Rocket Tech was next. Douglas Otwell, not applicable. Tongue out FPV. Kevin the Alien FPV Toast. Pencil Vester, that's a fun name. Siskel FPV. Demo FPV. County, Douglas Otwell, Frank Nicholas, Rocket Tech, Cloudhopper, Weber FPV, LOL the Kiddison, Kevin the Alien, Rocket Tech, Soap Legend 123, Douglas Otwell again, Cole Powers, Kilo Zebra, Rocket Tech, Nasty FPV, Brant Anderson, Rocket Tech, Kevin the Alien, Mile High RC, Brant Anderson 661 FPV, Just Keep Living, Ram Donko, BLD, Mile High again, Pequeño Frijole, Custom FPV. Who else is here? FPV Gaps, that's a good name. LOL the Kiddison. I think I got everybody. What's up, friends? Thanks for coming. CiottiFPV.com is the website that has all the shit that I'm doing to stay in business and be able to do this full time and keep bringing you guys the best of the best content that I can possibly provide. Patreon definitely helps me out the most. Speaking of, we've had a few people join Patreon that I have not given shout-outs to. But I always save those emails so that eventually you'll get your shout-out. John Dawson, thank you for joining the Patreon. Thank you for the mega support. Welcome to the gang of the gang, my friend. Deontay Gray, welcome to the gangliest of all the gangs. Thanks for joining the Patreon. Nicholas Henry, welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for the support. Dub L Deuce, I missed it on the live stream where he sent this. Dub L Deuce sent a $40 super generous PayPal. He said, healthcare fund homes. That stuff is expensive. I had cancer, I know. Sorry the corona is sticking around. Have you been mistaken for Richard Gadd? LOL. Do I look like Richard Gadd? I don't even know who Richard Gadd is. Unless it's there's a drummer with the last name Gadd. Is that who it is? Double Deuce, thank you so much, man. Super, super, super generous. The healthcare fund is over here. Oh, and look how small it is. Why is it so small? There we go. Yet again, that's what she said. So we've got 77 going up to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 1, 7. I think that's right. If it's not, it's fine. Thank you so much, homie. Super, super, super generous, man. And then I thought there was one more. Yes, Barry. Just Barry. Oh, no, we got two. Oh, there's a couple. Barry, welcome to the Gangly Gang. Matthew Arose, welcome. Thank you so much, fellas. And then Jake Wilkening. Thank all you guys so very much. You literally make it possible for me to do this full time. And the only reason I can do as good of a job, I mean, to be honest, do this at all. Like, realistically, if I had to go, if I had to get a regular job again, working 40 hours a week and then being a member of this family and like doing things for the family, not just disappearing, and then working on the house, I would not be able to do these live streams. Like I might be able to do one live stream a week, and like I wouldn't be able to do anything behind the scenes. It would just be like live stream, no prep whatsoever, and then like probably a full week. I might be able to do 2 a week, but man, the quality of this channel would absolutely go to hell. So thank you guys all so much. It's really, really, really cool that we've been able to kind of crowdfund this whole thing, and hopefully you're all digging the content that I bring to you. I try to do as much as I can behind the scenes, be that replying to all of your emails and Discord messages and Instagram messages and Facebook messages and email. I already said emails. And so, yeah, if it sometimes takes me a little bit to get back to you, I apologize for that, but that's just sort of the way it goes. Things get extremely busy in bursts. And one of the things that I need to do to be able to survive is kind of prioritize the flying gigs. And so if I get like a couple flying gigs in a row, I won't check my email for like 2 or 3 days because I'm just hammered busy with those. You know, I will do these live streams forever, but what like top of the list for me is being a pro FPV pilot. That is the absolute juice. Luckily, these live streams, like I can take on the road, right? Like if I got like a big gig that booked me for like weeks or months or something like that, I'd be able to bring the laptop, which I used to stream from at Maggie's old place, and I would be able to keep these live streams going from hotel rooms and whatnot, as long as I could get half decent Wi-Fi, which sometimes is a pain in the ass. So yeah, the live streams will continue, but the cinematic flying is what I want to do forever. And it's why I'm so nuts about safety, and it's why, I kind of talk about it a lot. But again, as long as I'm doing FPV full-time, these live streams will continue, because you guys are amazing, and really, you're who has allowed me to do this full-time. I did not have enough gig work. I've never had enough gig work to survive off of that. I have always had to do these live streams to supplement that income, to be able to have enough money to live in America in 2024, which is really expensive. So yeah, thank you guys for that as well. It's been a hell of a ride. It's hands down the most difficult thing I've ever done. And I still have a ways to go in terms of like making this financially viable enough to do it forever. But little by little, it's getting there, and that's pretty cool. And yeah, like my mental health is so much better doing this full time versus working in an office that I kind of have to force which is a good thing. I sort of have to keep doing this, and away we go. Because yeah, that like as someone who has lived with mental illness for pretty much my whole life, it took me a long time to realize this, but that is the most important thing for me, even more so than healthcare, regular like insurance. So my mental health is what gets prioritized. I spend $150 a session on the best talk therapist that I've found in 15 plus years of going to talk therapists. They're all great, but Sean, my guy now, I've had more progress with than ever before, and quite honestly, like, my brain is the thing that will kill me before anything else in my body at the moment. You know, I'm sure that'll change. I mean, you never know, but that might change as I get older and the rest of my body falls apart. But right now, my brain is the thing that tries to end it all more than anything else. So that's what gets the priority. The healthcare fund is cool and all, but yeah. Little slice of what it's like to live with mental illness. It's not great, but hey, a bunch of us have to deal with it, and all you can do is your best every day, and away we go. If you want to talk to me in the chat, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV. Douglas Otwell says, CiottiFPV, my nerd goggles arrived today and have changed my life. I'm telling you guys, look, you don't look cool flying FPV, so you might as well look like even more of an asshole. These will make the quality of the work that you do so much better. And they're like $10 or $15 on Amazon. I'm like, seriously, get these. Don't, in my opinion, don't put the batteries in them. They have this silly little LED here. When you put the batteries in these, so the batteries go in this little bay here. When you put the batteries in, these become very uncomfortable. The weight of the batteries sits like on your nose here, and it's just, yeah, I could not use these with the batteries in them. As soon as I took the batteries out, I can wear these for like 20-30 minutes at a time, and it's completely fine. They're going to come with a bunch of different lenses. Run the lenses that are the thickest, that have the maximum magnification. And yeah, I'm not kidding. These changed the quality of my soldering more than anything else. You know why? Because when I wear these, I can see what the fuck I'm doing. And being able to see what you're doing will allow you to get it right, and it'll actually allow you to learn what the hell's going on. You can see when the solder goes liquid. You can see when it's when all the flux has burned off and it dries cloud, or yeah. Being able to see what you're doing is super important. You're able to see these tiny little pads. You're able to see if the wire is centered on the pad or if it's off, and it's going to bridge to the next pad when you're, you know, not paying attention. Yeah, get you a set of these off Amazon, and I guarantee you the quality of everything you do with FPV will go up. Over on CiottiFPV.com, there is an affiliate link to Amazon right here. I know you're ordering shit off Amazon, my friends. Change everyone in your household's bookmarks to Amazon, and then it's free money. Or if you don't use bookmarks, if you just go up here and type AMA for Amazon, off on the right, there's going to be an X to remove the suggestion. I don't know what it'll say in Firefox, but there's a way to remove the existing suggestions when you start typing websites in. Do that, and then hit these affiliate links a bunch of times. And then your browser will think that when you want to go to Amazon and you type AMA and hit enter, it'll bring you directly to this affiliate link. That's a way that you can use people's affiliate links without ever having to remember it. Change your bookmarks if you use bookmarks, and or change your suggestions. You don't have to use my bookmarks, but I'm sorry, my affiliate links, but use somebody's affiliate links. It's, like I said, free money. We're out here creating content on YouTube. The more money we have, the more stuff we can buy, the more testing that we can do, the more money we can save you. It's a big cycle. So help us out. Use somebody's affiliate links. I have a whole bunch. We Bleed, Get FPV, Newbie Drone, FPV Cycle, Amazon, Race Day Quads, Oh My God, Brain 3D, HD Zero, Flywoo, Emacs, Banggood, Camera Butter, and AliExpress. I know you're ordering from one of those websites. Hook a brother up. You can still use coupons. You can still get free shipping. It doesn't affect you in any way whatsoever. Here's my Patreon. That definitely helps me out the most. Here's a link to my Etsy with some fun stickers and hardware. Teespring, some fun shirts and other weird apparel. Fiverr, you can work one-on-one with me or just message me and we'll get you set up. I've been doing this for over 8 years. I've been paying a lot of attention. I'm not just one of these guys that everything is the greatest and just says, you know, oh, here's a question. Yeah, okay, yep, good. Like, I actually answer your questions. Take advantage of the 8+ years. If you have more money than time, I can help you out with that. All the info that I have is in these live streams, but good God, it's going to take you a while to find all of it. You'll be able to find it, but it'll take you a while. If you have more money than time, we can spend a half an hour or an hour, and I'll just, you know, hammer me with questions, or I'll walk you through build planning, I'll walk you through tuning, I'll walk you through flying better, whatever you want. Save some time. Away we go. Kevin the Alien says, finally got the light AF and titanium screws. Dry weight is, Jesus Christ, 15.49. That's really light. I want to get this down below 16. But I'm not sure. I can either like cut the back of the canopy off. I don't know. It's I don't know. The titanium screws are an interesting idea. I have to do this AliExpress order, and I'm going to get some. I would love for those to bring this down below 16. I'm super curious what it would fly like. 15.5 is ridiculously light. Kevin the Alien says it's the lightest that can currently be without crazy mods. That's pretty dope, dude. Kevin the Alien says, why props in? Props out. So props out like this are great for if you're going to be crashing through Scraggle and you don't have prop guards. That's one of the main reasons to run props out. So on a tiny whoop, that doesn't matter, right? So one of the main reasons to go props out doesn't exist on tiny whoops. The other reason that we originally went to props out way back when was tiny whoop specific. When you both roll and yaw, when you coordinate your sticks to make a flat turn, 2 of the motors spin up and 2 of the motors break down to create the yaw motion. And then if we're turning this way, these 2 motors fire up to make the roll, to roll left, right? And when your props out, that work gets shared. What basically, if you're making a left turn, when your props out, this motor is the one that spins up to create the yaw, and then this motor is the one that creates the roll. These 2, but yeah, so that the work is shared. Way back when tiny whoops did not have a lot of power, we realized that, because what would happen is we were props in at the time, and when we were props in, the outside rear motor had to do both jobs. It had to spin up for yaw, and it had to do the job of roll. And what would happen is you would run out of power here, and it would just fall out. So you would do like a really hard coordinated turn, and the rig would just let go because this motor would run out of steam. And so one of the reasons that we went to props out on tiny whoops way back when was to fix that. It was to share the load of that motion. Now that we have motors that make tons of power, that's really not an issue anymore. And what we've realized, what Mark Spatz, UAV Tech, realized about a year ago, is that on Cinewhoops, when one of the problems that we had with Cinewhoops when they were props out is that for whatever reason, when you try to drop altitude, the air is more turbulent, and that creates more prop wash basically. And then as prop wash gets created, the rig has to use more thrust to fight against that to keep it solid on the way down. And so when you tried to drop altitude, you would get all the way down to 0 throttle, and the motors would like wind up, and you would hear it like they would drop down, so it would, but then it would as it was coming down, and you could even get into a situation where you were 0 throttle and it would like stop dropping altitude. It would be like kind of charging forward. Mark Spatz realized that if you go back to props in old school style, it would stop doing that. The Cinewhoops would drop elevation a lot better. Tiny whoops are pretty similar to Cinewhoops in terms of mainly they've got ducts, right? The ducts or the prop guards, whatever you want to call them, are the main thing that makes Cinewhoops fly like shit, right? This is not really an issue that we run into all that often on 5-inch rigs, but you do sometimes run into it. Way back when, Betaflight default was props in. Way back when, quads didn't have a lot of power. And I'm sure that the Betaflight devs at some point tried props in and props out and realized that props in was better. I'm sure that it wasn't just like, oh, what, hey guys, what should we do? Props in and props out. Props in, cool, sounds good. We shouldn't test it? No test? Okay, it's fine, whatever. Right? Like, I'm sure they tested it a little bit. So maybe it has something to do with that. Maybe it has something to do with low power to weight systems work better with props in because there's something about it that's more aerodynamic. But regardless, on Cinewhoops, it makes a big difference. Like, it is night and day. Cinewhoops fly way better with props in versus props out. And so, in theory, so will Tinywhoops. I've been experimenting with it a bunch, and I have not noticed, like, a massive difference. I set this thing up. I put the props on wrong. The props in the rear are props out. I'm so used to doing props out that sometimes I forget. Yeah, I've not done a ton of testing, but I have tested it a little bit, and I've seen no difference so far, which is fine. I think the main thing that's going to matter, the main testing that's going to make a difference is dives. Tinywhoops have always had a problem with dives, and the motors wind up and it pulls you out off of the thing that you're diving. And so if I can't notice a difference flying around the house, and then if it makes them dive better, that's a huge win, right? No negatives, and a positive that, like, you don't really do dives very often with Tinywhoops, right? But when it is time to do a dive, if the thing performs really good, that's awesome. Because, like, doing a big old dive with a Tinywhoop, like, you're probably somewhere pretty cool. And so, yeah, I think it's well worth the testing to get that figured out. But yeah, I don't know. It's we still don't have that much power, so if I find that, like, basically if I ever have the situation where I'm coordinating the sticks and the outside rear motor lets go, that's going to be kind of like game over. I will not put up with that. I would rather have it not, because they don't dive that bad. It's not, like, horrible. But yeah, we'll see. I've not seen any difference so far. Admittedly, I've not done, like, a big dive with a tiny... What I really want is to... And why I like, what I'm doing right now is, like, every time I put propellers onto a rig, I'm putting them on props in. And so as I do that more and more, at this point, like, it's kind of like half and half. Half my rigs are props in, half of them are props out. And that's perfect, because at some point I'll have these and I'll be at a spot where I can do a dive, and then I'll have one rig that's props in, one that's props out, and I can just throw them both up and see if there's any noticeable difference. But yeah, I haven't been to a place that made sense for, like, a Tinywhoop dive, but I will. Rocket Tech says, do whoops react differently to props in, out versus a 5-inch where it doesn't really matter? They do, yeah. I mean, I think we just kind of went over it. And it does matter on a 5-inch rig. It's just that they are so overpowered that it's a lot more subtle. But I have absolutely had 5-inch rigs that, in certain scenarios, basically like when there's a whole bunch of wind, when you try to drop altitude, they will start to wind up. That behavior, when you're zero throttle and the motors start to wind up, that is a situation where I think props in will fix. That's a situation that props in would fix. That's a weird thing about props out. For the record, I'm also very skeptical that props out actually has enough force to push Scraggle out of the way. I want to think that it does, but I just don't know, because, man, like, we are hammering into Scraggle, and I'm not sure. So I'm actually really curious to move some of the 5-inch rigs to props in, but the problem is I don't really fly 5-inch enough to, like, notice a difference. So I don't know. If any of you guys are really putting in a lot of batteries with 5-inch builds, think about it. Think about trying props in versus props out, and try to do it in a controlled way. Best case would be blind testing. But yeah, I mean, if you can repeat, if you can notice a difference and then repeat it and repeat it and repeat it like a bunch of times in a row, I would love to hear about that. But that's really, really tough to do, admittedly. Which one of these rigs is coming apart? I think this guy is coming apart because it's on the 40,000 kV motors, which are kind of like meme motors on here at this point. Because I think I want to put these 40,000 kV motors somewhere else. Let me just think about this for a second. So this guy is definitely not coming apart. This is the because the motors are direct soldered, which is a nightmare. And it's also the super lightweight rig, which I'm having such a blast flying around. So realistically, what we've got here are these three Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoops. This is the 32,000 kV most old school, like, just, this ain't coming apart. This is like the one. This is just my buddy. It's also so cool looking with the clear on the clear and the light blue motors and then the pink HQ YOLO props. Like, this one is built forever. This guy, this is the 36,000 kV one, which I beat the hell out of at Rampage. And so, and it's just the 36,000 kV motors are awesome. They're really, 36,000 kV is kind of like the max for these analog rigs. The 40,000 it's hysterical, but it's just not necessary. So, and I kind of want to leave this together and just keep pounding on it and see how long it takes to break it. Like, this is the Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoop, like, poster child. It's just so strong. It's been through so much abuse. And so, yeah, I really don't want to pull it apart. This might be the first Cockroach 65 V3 frame that I can actually break. So I kind of want to leave this together because it's just been hammered to hell. Like, look at this thing. Look how chewed up it got from Rampage. It is just, like, bordering on being demolished. Look at how fucked up the inside of the prop guards are. This is also how you can really tell that the propellers are running properly around the inside of the ducts, because the inside of the ducts are actually all scraped up and shit. See this here? This is where I think it might actually break. So I really want to leave this thing put together. But, like, look how chewed up it is. It's just been through hell. So, like, anybody that says that the Mobula 6 canopy isn't tough, how the hell do you explain this? I've had such good luck with the Mobula 6 canopies. The ORT antenna is like the newest addition, and it's been incredibly durable. But yeah, man, this thing has just been through war. And so I really don't want to pull it apart because I want to see what breaks. I want to see if I can break it. Jesus, it's just been such a warrior. For the record, here's the pretty boy of the fleet. And the 0702 32,000 kV motors, like, I've put so many batteries through them. It's like the control. This rig is like the control. I can always come back to it and, like, reset myself. The HQ YOLO props are on here because they're pink and they look cool, but I do actually really like them. And so, yeah, this is also a really good rig for comparing biblades to triblades. This rig here on 32,000 kV motors on the triblades makes very similar power to this on the 36,000s with biblades. So these two rigs are actually super, super interesting when I back-to-back them. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of a weight difference between the two of them, which kind of throws it off. But yeah, I'll get another one of those ORT antennas, and the weight difference will kind of go away. So that leaves this one, which I threw together for the other night for that stream with the 40,000 kV motors. But yeah, these motors are going to go somewhere else. So this is going to be what we're going to pull apart here tonight, I think. As much as I kind of want to leave it together because the 40,000s on a really light analog rig are just like hysterical. It's just too much. The 36,000s are all of the power that you'll ever need from an analog rig. And to be really honest, at like 36,000 kV, it's already at this point where like you have so much power that it makes the rig harder to fly. And like flying inside the house in acro, doing all the shit that we're trying to do, is already really difficult. And so like if, hold on, just getting these motor plugs unplugged. If this ultra lightweight rig has taught me anything, it's that we don't need that much power. We need more lightweight. We need to add more lightweight. So yeah, the 40,000 kV motors are hysterical, and everybody should own a set. But yeah, they're, in my opinion, they're more for heavy rigs, like the walk snail rigs, where you need a light motor, but then you also need a whole bunch of power. So we're gonna leave these 40,000s for those types of scenarios. And then you can just motor limit them down. Although, you know, in fairness, because of how great motor limiting is, maybe just buy the 40,000s, and then if you want 36,000 or 32,000, you just motor limit it down. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. You could make a really strong argument, actually, for doing that, because then you've got the highest kV available, and you can change the power. Any lower of a kV, if you want more than 36,000, for example, you can't get it. You can't motor limit 101%. So, yeah, like I said, you can make a really strong argument for never buying anything other than the highest kV motor, which is what these are. But the argument against that is that there is a point in motor limiting where you start to lose throttle resolution and efficiency. I don't really notice it. I've motor limited all the way down to 60%, and everything feels totally fine, and the run times are exactly the same as motors that are at 100% at the lower kV. So I don't totally buy that, but I've heard enough people say it that, you know, it's one of these things that, like, you know, from like an engineering standpoint, I'm sure that that's true. But from a practical standpoint, like in practice, actually like flying these things up in the air, it's not as big of a deal as I think people make it out to be. But what I wouldn't do is motor limit like 50%. 60% is the absolute limit for me. And nowadays, for a little bit of extra safety, like I don't really go below 70%. If I had to go below 70%, I would be looking at snagging a set of lower kV motors so that I didn't have to motor limit down that low. So there's the full kind of situation. You make up your own mind. I've had really good luck motor limiting like crazy. It's sitting there in the PIDs tab just waiting for you to use it. Might as well use it. Canopy, AIO, camera are out. We're going to drop them into this new frame here. Fuck, are you kidding me? It doesn't fit through there? Okay. What about back here? It does fit through back here. Okay, cool. So we're putting the little arrow forward this time. It doesn't matter. I like to put it backwards, though, for the record. But it does not matter. All right, let's get this in here. I will just struggle with getting these grommets to stay on while I read the chat. BLDO550 says reverse engineering. Hell yeah. Athix is in the house. What's up, homie? He says it's been a minute. How is things? Really good, man. How about you? Sleepy CBR says I made it. Hello, gang. And CiottiFPV. June Loco says your thoughts on the new T-Motor 5-inch frame. I did not know that there was one. What's it called? Is there like a name for it? Is it this? FT5 Mark II? That looks like it's going to T-Motor's website. Come on, really? 2 pop-ups? Let's go to their home page, and maybe it'll be there. All right, let me start struggling with getting this into this frame here. And I'm actually really curious to weigh this. I haven't... I know that the Meteor 65 airframe is light, but I don't remember how light it really is. Look at these gigantic motors. What the hell was that? Where is it? Is it not on there? Is it so new that it's not even on their homepage? I'm going to wait for somebody to tell me what it actually is. Kevin the Alien with a $10 super chat. He says, tons of great information. I'll have to do some testing soon. Awesome, dude. Thank you very much for the support. And thanks for joining in on the testing, man. It's super helpful. That's one of the things that's made this community of people that hang out here so great, is that everybody's willing to do something to help out, and it makes a huge difference. June Loco, tag me again and let me know what the frame is called so I can actually find it. Curtis Hayes says, I put 40,000 motors on my Mobula 6 HD0. I had to check the don't spin motors on arm to keep it from taking off on arm. Not fly away, but it comes off the ground. Is there a better way? I've had to check the don't spin motors on arm. I've never had to check that. I don't even know what that does. So it set what is was all right. HD0. So I'm going to assume that the rig was fine before you swapped to those motors. Did you like crank the tune up or anything? The 40,000 kV motors have so much power that you have to damn near run a stock tune. So if your tune is cranked up at all, the first thing you want to do is to move all the sliders back to 1.0. That's going to be your baseline. So that's going to be the super important like first troubleshooting step here. I'm trying to think of Mobula 6 HD0. So they've got an AIO in that I'm actually not familiar with. I'm assuming it's the new Super X AIO, but it doesn't have a VTX on it. So yeah, I'm not familiar with that AIO. I mean, in theory, the AIO is fine, but I mean, if you didn't change it, again, those motors are a lot, in fairness, but I've put the 40,000 kV motors on a lot of different stuff, and they've been fine after a little bit of love, after backing the PIDs off, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, arming it and then it bouncing all over the place and trying to take off, that's like a classic symptom of too much PID gain. So that's why my mind goes there first and foremost. You said you just put them on, so in theory the motor shafts aren't bent yet. If you haven't put a fresh set of propellers on there, I would definitely do that, just to eliminate that as a possibility. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that you can try to get you started. And then if none of that works, just throw it in the river. That's most of the troubleshooting that we can do, to be honest. But if that still doesn't work, or if you've already done all that, I'll think a little bit harder about it. But those are the main things. I mean, there's not a whole heck of a lot else. Check to make sure that when you put the motors on, you didn't mangle anything. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can try. This is all hooked up. I just got to get the motor spinning in the right direction. And we can start checking out these VCI 0702 29000s to see if they have what it takes to dethrone the Happy Model motors. Sleepy CBR says you need to get an affiliate link for Wrecked FPV. You know, I've been meaning to check Wrecked FPV out a little bit more, because I'm seeing a lot of people I'm seeing their name pop up over and over and over again, and the website looks cool. I've been to the website a couple of times. I need to do an order, and just yeah, see how quick it gets here. I'll leave a note in the order and say something. Oh yeah. These are the only BT. Oh, I have a ton of. Oh, that's right. They have VCI motors. Oh, but I ordered directly from VCI, so there really aren't any VCI motors that I need anymore. I wish I'd waited, and then I could have gotten. This is what we're. This is what we're testing tonight. So I wish I'd waited. I ordered these directly from VCI. I wish I'd ordered these from Rect, but I was super impatient. I'll find something. I'll find something on here that I need. I'm not going to order more 300 mAh batteries at the moment. I have way too many. Maybe I'll get. No, I have too many cube gates. I'll find something and I'll do an order and say hey in there. But yeah, I'm hearing good things. Oh, here we go. I really do need one of these in this length for the 2S rig. This is Oh wait, no, I guess I don't now because I changed the way that the board is going to. Well, I might need to change the orientation of the board again because I broke those pads off. So we'll see. But yeah, they've got the electronic goop, which is amazing. But yeah, I've heard really good things about Rect, for the record. So I'm going to leave this tab open. Just throw it over here. Andrew Taylor says, do you know what the camera angle is on the old Mobula 6 ball sack frame? Would you say it's less than the G-string? I'm after a low camera angle, 15 to 20 degrees. It's adjustable. You can run it all the way down to 0 degrees or all the way up to what appears to be about 30. So yeah. That's one of the things that I really like about the ball sack canopy is that it has that adjustable up tilt. And with Tiny Whoops, it's really easy. Normally, I don't like adjustable up tilt because it's hard to get. Welcome to it's hard to get the up tilt exactly where you want it, and then it's hard to get it the same on multiple rigs. But with Tiny Whoops, you've got the guards up in the front. So you can just adjust the up tilt until you have, like, for me, it's like on the bottom of the screen, it's the whole guard. And then, like, below the guard, there's just a tiny little slice of, like, daylight. And so if you do that on all your rigs, you've got the same amount of up tilt on all of them. So with Tiny Whoops, it's easy to nail adjustable up tilt. On every other rig, it's not, because you don't have a visual representation, right? You just have to, like, kind of hold the thing up and like, that looks like about 30 degrees. And having up tilt different from one rig to the next is a really big deal. It really affects your flying. So yeah, there you go. Rocket Tech says, the algorithm gave me what looks like your first meet with Bardwell. He streamed from your house 4 years ago. You said, paraphrased, I don't like to fly cinematic. It's too hard. Had to laugh. Yeah, that was what started it all, actually. Bardwell was in Atlanta. And we'd become friends a couple of years before that from the quad camp events, Rotor Riot's quad camp events. And he was in town. He hit me up. He was like, "Yeah, you want to hang?" I'm like, "Yeah, for sure." And he had just started live streaming. I don't know if he just started live streaming, but he hadn't been live streaming very long. And he was like, "Hey, I'm supposed to be live streaming tonight. You want to do it from your house?" I was like, "Hell yeah, that'll be fun." And we did it. We did the live stream, and it was great. And then after the live stream, Joshua was like, "Dude, you're really good at this. Like, you should maybe think about doing this." This is when I was still working for Benefit Focus. Like, I was still very much a project manager that flew FPV here and there on the side. And so, I remember when he said that, I was like, all right, I'll maybe do this like one night a week, maybe 2 nights a week, just for fun. And I started, and that's kind of what started it all. And then not too long after, when COVID came along, I got laid off, and I messaged Joshua, and I was like, hey man, how dumb do you think it would be for me to try to do this full time for money? And the words that he said to me that I will never forget were, if not now, then when? And that's been it. Like, you know, we had like a full conversation about it, but like those words just are forever in my brain, and I still consider, like, I still think about that, like, because yeah, I mean, it's not all rainbows and unicorn farts, and so every once in a while, like, I kind of have to remind myself of that, and I'll think about those words and be like, all right, and that'll like get me to keep going, because starting your own business takes a long time, right? Like, we're over 3 years now, but like that's where things like start to happen for most businesses, right? Like, sure, you hear about businesses or like internet personalities that like get a huge break and like all of a sudden they just blow up overnight, but like that's the exception, right? Like, that is not common. It feels like we see that more often than not, because most people aren't willing to do what I'm doing and stay with it. Most people especially like nowadays in, you know, our impatient society, it's like you try something for a year, like what I'm doing. You try it for a year, and if you're not, you know, if you don't have 100,000 subscribers, most people are just going to be like, nope, I'm done. I'm going right back. And they just bail and they go right back to their day job. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like, if you really want to do something like this and you don't win the lottery and just have a video that blows up, or have somebody like just, you know, give you everything you need, or if you don't have like family money, or, you know, if you weren't working in a space where you stacked up tons and tons of money and you can just pour money into it, this is what it looks like. It's years and years and years of sacrifice and hard work and grinding, right? And I'm in it, and I don't plan on going anywhere, because it is growing. Like, there was a while that it wasn't, and that was super scary. Things shrunk quite a bit. FPV had a bit of a dip about 2 years ago into last year, and you know, it wasn't just me. It was all of FPV, and so I kind of held the line, and now we're very slowly kind of coming back, and that's amazing. And so here we are. Hey, let's take a quick look at what RPM these motors will turn with these propellers on. Real quick. 64, 64, 64, 64. That's a nice little health check as well, and that's a pretty high RPM. So these motors make power. The big question is going to be the efficiency. You know, on the on this guy with the 07, this is the Mobula 6 2024 V1 with this direct soldered motors, 16.4 grams all up weight. This thing will get 4 minutes. I will not expect this to get 4 minutes, because it's going to be heavier. How heavy is it? It is 18 grams right on the nose, which is right. 18 grams is the right weight. I kind of hoped it would be a little bit lighter than that because of this Meteor 65 airframe, but this frame needs to use the longer motor screws, which are significantly heavier than the really short motor screws that we use on the Cockroach 65 V3 frames. So yeah, I don't. It is what it is. 18 grams is a pretty standard weight for the Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoops. So yeah, that's fine. And it looks like the propellers are running around the inside of the ducts just about right. So if this steaming pile of shit will focus, there we go. If you look at the lower tip of the propeller, you can see it's just barely above the bottom of the duct there. See it? And that's what you want. So yeah, these motors are definitely taller. When you put the Happy Model motors into this frame, it does not look like this at all. the bottom of the propeller is like clearly below the duct. And that's and so, like, for example, right, when this thing crashes, see how the propeller moves? So when it crashes, there you go. That shows it. So the frame pushes into the propeller and the propeller moves the motor, versus in the worst case scenario, it hits here and the frame just has to take all of that abuse. But that's, you know, that's not going to, there's going to be quite a few occasions that it pushes into the prop like this. I think with the Happy Model motors, it's this situation over and over and over and over again. And you can even see, so like right around here at the tip of my index finger, this is where the crease develops, and this is where this frame breaks. And you can even see it. You can see, like, when it crashes like this, that there's this stress that gets put on the back of that duct. You see it moving there? And so, yeah, these motors and propellers will be a much better option for this Meteor 65 airframe, which is great because this frame is very lightweight, and being able to use the regular screws is nice. I still prefer the Cockroach 65 V3 frame if I'm totally honest. And I kind of sort of maybe wish that I had built this with that frame, but I want to give this frame another shot and see if, with the right motors, it is durable. Because the more frame options we have, the better. You know, like me always recommending the Cockroach 65 V3 frame, it's kind of like, well, you know, that feels a little bit like one-sided. Hey, look, this guy is sponsored by Newbie Drone. Maybe that's why. No. I tell you guys to buy the stuff that is the best and that I've found to be the best. Sponsorships be damned. When you guys buy a Cockroach 65 V3 frame, I make like maybe a penny, if that. So there's no real benefit to me shilling Tiny Whoop parts. They're just so inexpensive, right? So I might as well tell you the really good ones, and then you'll have a Tiny Whoop that flies really good. You'll be like, damn, Ciotti hooked a brother up. Let me join his Patreon for $3 a month. I'll get way more from $3 a month on Patreon than you guys using my affiliate links, unless you really use them for like whatever. This thing's ready to fly. Let's fly it. Jacob Wilkening says, if you have to build 2 new chase whoops, what would you build with 03? What size with new restrictions? I have no idea. I have not really dove into the sub 400 gram world yet. What I'm assuming is same exact formula, box frame, separate 20x20 ESC and flight controller, and then 3-inch. There really aren't many, if any, 3-inch box frames out there. Luckily for me, I'm friends with if I think of the name of his company, I'll think of his name. Oh my God. Jeff from Hyperlow. There we go. And he designed a 3-inch box frame forever ago. He's never really sold any of them, but he sent me the CAD files and told me, like, just get them cut on your own. I was like, cool. So I have a source for a 3-inch box frame. I can't give you those CAD files. I also can't have that frame cut and sell it to you or anything like that. So if you want to go that route, 3-inch box frame, I don't know of any that exist. If you mention, if you message Hyperlow frames on Instagram, you can ask them. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'll be willing to do it or not. What I can say is that was all when sub 250 was still a thing, and I think one of the reasons that he never really made any to sell is that there's no way to build that under sub 250. Now that it's sub 400 with the waiver, there's a lot more of a reason to build that thing. So yeah. The other option is the AOS Cine 3.5. I really wish that I hadn't sold mine. I sold it back when I realized there would be absolutely no way to get it under 250 grams. So yeah, there's a chance that I'll buy another Cine 3.5. I doubt it, but you never know. So yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I think everybody is kind of like, what do we do here? Like 400 grams is a weird number. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the FAA recently changed their. They didn't change. They added a little bit. They gave us a little love. Basically, they've now said that if you want to fly over people, concerts, whatever, sporting events, they want us to put waivers in. And they're saying that, hey, we're actually going to approve the waivers. Previously, they denied 97% of the waivers, so none of us even bothered. It was just either sub 250 or you're not flying over people. Companies like Hollywood Aerials, they can get away with it. They have someone at the FAA that they talk to every time. They have like someone's phone number. They don't call the FAA. They call Charlotte at the FAA. Did I say Beverly Hills Aerials? I think I might have said the wrong name. But all of the rest of us didn't have that. And so now what they've said is, hey, we're actually going to approve the waivers. And they said, hey, we're going to approve the waivers because we looked at the stats and there haven't been any accidents. Sounds a lot like what we've been saying for years, you dicks. But yeah, they said, they're now saying, hey, we changed the waiver process. There's a lot more questions, but we're going to approve the waivers as long as they're not completely insane. And we're going to bump the sub 250 number up to 400. They haven't changed the categorizations. So category 1 is still considered sub 250. Category 2 is 250 to, I think it's 1,000. I think it's a kilogram. None of that has changed. This is a specific thing for flying above crowds of people. And so, yeah, with a waiver, we can now, instead of building sub 250, we can build sub 400. And it's like, wow, like an extra 150 grams is great, but like, what does that mean? Does that allow us to go from 2.5 inch to 3 inch, or can we go all the way up to 3.5 inch? It also opens the door for something I'm interested in, which is head tracking through Medlin. Josh from Medlin Drones is just such a cool dude, and his products are so awesome. And I've always wanted to dive into them, but it's really difficult, almost impossible to do it under 250. But 400 is totally doable. I'm really hoping that I can get away with a head tracking setup and 3 inch. If the head tracking setup is so heavy that I'll have to be 2.5 inch, I don't think I'll do it because I'm not thrilled with the runtime that I'm getting already. And if I have to add 150 grams, that's going to go completely to hell. I'm sure it won't add an actual 150 grams, but I would have to go up to a bigger battery, and it's not going to work. If I'm going to do the head tracking setup, I need to be able to go up to 3 inch. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if... I think that 150 grams will be just barely enough to go up to the heavier frame, heavier motors, hopefully the same battery, because bigger props, more efficiency. I'm hoping that offsets the weight. Also better prop options at 3 inch than 2.5 inch. And then the head tracking setup. I'm hoping I can hit right at 400 with head tracking, 3 inch, bigger motors, slightly bigger battery, maybe, possibly. I doubt it. I which is fine because I have a ton of these 4S 850s already. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know how it's all gonna shake out, but hopefully we can make something cool happen. Good question, Jacob. EVAPPV is in the house. What's up? Don't on 5 inch. You get so much shit splatter on your lens with props in. That is the other thing about props in versus props out. Props in pull, like, especially I used to run into this when I would fly really low to the ground. You fly really low to the ground, it pulls the rocks in. I would get all these rock chips all over the lens of my FPV camera. So yeah, that's the other thing about props out. The flip side, though, is when you turtle mode, props out now goes props in. So when you turtle mode, you throw shit into your lens. But you turtle mode a lot less often than you fly low to the ground. So yeah, that's another benefit of props out. I forgot about that one. Good call. Kevin the Alien, thanks again for the $10 super chat. YouTube just did the thing. Rocket Tech says, could you reinforce the weak spot on the black frame / green motors with E6000? I totally could. I absolutely could. But I want to see it break. I want to break one of these frames to see where it breaks. I have not been able to break one of these yet. So yeah. You can always reinforce stuff. E6000 is amazing for tiny whoop stuff to save its lives and bring it back to life. Newbie Drone has been very generous with their frames, and they've sent me quite a few frames that I've then put into giveaways and used myself, so I can be a snob and just let it break and then put a new one on. But that's what we want, right? Like that's good content for, like, hey, look, I put this thing to death and it still survived. Like, that's what we want to see. We don't want to see like me reinforcing it and making it last forever. We actually want to see when it does break. And so does Newbie Drone. Newbie Drone wants to see me break one of these frames. JB says, favorite 75mm frames, got a Mobula 6 Analog 1S. That's my favorite. The Mobula 7 Analog 1S. The Mobula 7 V4, which is the frame that comes with that rig, is my favorite. I also really like the Meteor 75 Air, but it only works on cross-style AIOs, which is kind of limiting. That's about it. I don't like any of the other ones. Curtis Hayes says, I turned the tune all the way down. It doesn't bounce, just rises up. There's something going on there. Put the old motors back onto it and just make sure that there's not something going on with those motors. I hate to make you do that, but that's a really weird problem, and we need to take we just need to do something drastic to kind of troubleshoot that. So put the old motors on, make sure that they're not doing the same thing. Rocket Tech says, could you run the meme motors on a 75mm? Hell no. 75mm builds, minimum motor is an 0802 for good performance. 702s are going to get too hot, and 40,000 kV is way too much for those bigger propellers. So not only is the motor too small, but the kV is way too high. June Loco says it's called ERA from CiottiFPV, new 5-inch frame. ERA FPV frame. And you said it's from ITS. Oh, look, Drain Man reviewed it. I hate to be a dick, but I can't get past the first 15 seconds of any of his videos. I can't do it. When he introduces himself, my brain shuts off and I just have to click away. I'm sorry to be like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. ERA 5-inch. Here we go. Interesting. $110 is an awful lot of money, but there are loads of frames that are $110 nowadays. Ooh, that's an awful big chunk of, I was gonna say 3D printed material, but that looks like it's molded. That scares me. That's also going to be really heavy. This is going to be a super heavy frame. The arms also look absurdly thick. This is probably going to be like a 150-gram frame. 6mm arms, yeah. So the arms at 6mm are never going to break. So you're going to break lots and lots of motors, which I don't like. I would rather break arms than motors. They're way cheaper and way easier to replace. So I don't love that about it. Wow, they're really not given much info. So it doesn't look like they're telling us what the frame weighs, which is the most important thing. And when companies don't tell you what the frame weighs, I don't want to talk about their frames. Because, like, what is the matter with you? Like, I'll try my best to talk a little bit more about it, but just know that I'm not happy about this. I would really like to just click off of this and just never talk about this frame again, because it's the only tiny little bit of punishment that I can level on these people for not putting the fucking weight of the frame, which is like the only fucking thing the first thing that matters. I don't know. It looks really heavy, which is a deal breaker for me. The arms are too thick, so you're going to destroy lots of motors. There's lots of other frames out there, most of which they'll tell you what they weigh. So buy those frames. Don't support people that don't put the most basic goddamn thing about a frame that we want to know. That's like selling a car without telling you like what the engine is. Like, hey, here's a car. Oh, what kind of how much horsepower does it have? Oh, I don't know. What kind of engine does it have? Oh, I don't know. It's a car. Do you want it or not? Well, no. If it's got an 80 horsepower engine and the thing weighs 8,000 pounds, it's going to be damn near undrivable. What the hell? Yeah, sorry, June Loco, but I can't do it. It looks heavy as hell, and there are lots of heavy as hell frames out there. So there's nothing about it that looks like mind blowing. Frames are at a point where there's kind of not going to be anything that's mind blowing, so that's not surprising. But I can't do it. I can't do it. You cannot fucking make a frame and not tell people what it weighs. I'm sorry. If you do that, I'm gonna beat you with a stick. And I'm all out of sticks, so I can't. I can't. Is it just me? Like, is it just me? If it is, tell me. It's fine. Tell me if it's just me. Am I the asshole here? Yeah? Oh, well. I'm okay with that. Cole Power says, I tried throw it in a river step of your troubleshooting guide. Now what? Now you get another hobby that's not so fucking frustrating. No, you buy all new shit and cross your fingers again. Andrew Taylor says, I think he meant motor stop in the motors tab. Yeah, I've never used that. I don't know what it does. Zach says, what motors would you use for a 2S toothpick with 45mm tri-blades? I was considering a sub 250 0803 19,000s. I don't know, Zach. I have not really gone down that road. I've not gone toothpick in a long time. My guess would be 1204, like 8 to 11,000 kV, but I'm like the worst person to ask, just because I haven't done it. Check out Quad 66, QUAD 66 here on YouTube. Search for Quad 66 space FPV. You'll find him. He's been doing 1S and 2S toothpicks forever. He's a great guy, super smart, great pilot. Trust his setups. Andrew Taylor says, thanks, it's good to know about camera angle. It's super important. J Monk says, where is the batwing info so I can have it printed? Thanks. It's on my Discord in the 3D printing section. Somebody says, fuck the FAA, they have some jive turkeys. Jive turkeys will never not make me laugh. And I'm not gonna say F the FAA because I'm about to fly in an airplane next week, and I would rather not have some asshole with a drone put that shit into the airplane engine and kill me and my entire family. So, you know, the FAA has a really difficult job to do, and like, yeah, they're not doing it perfect, but whoever does anything perfect ever, especially when there's politics involved and money involved, and yeah, companies like Amazon that are throwing all of the weight that they possibly can to try to own the skies for their dumbass delivery services, right? FAA has a really hard job to do, and the fact that they haven't just said, like, all right, hobbyist drones, fuck you, you're done, is pretty amazing. Because what do they care? What do they care about us? Why would they give us anything, right? Like, they're trying to keep the skies safe, and we keep fucking up. Like, not us. And I mean, although there have been FPV people that fuck up, but like drone people keep fucking up, right? Remember the video of the Mavic where the fucking Blue Angels or whatever the hell it was flies by within like a couple 100 feet? Like, when that happened, I will never forget. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that's it. That we're done. And like, to be honest, if after that the FAA had been like, okay, no more, I wouldn't have blamed them for a goddamn second. And there have been more than just that. There have been a bunch of photography drones that have had commercial airliners whip right by them. And, you know, like, there's an awful lot of people flying around in commercial airliners all day, every day. And so if the FAA is going to prioritize all of those lives over a very small group of drone people, I get it. I don't like it. But I totally get it, right? So, I don't know. In my opinion, resist the urge to just like, the FAA is the devil, right? Because eventually you're going to get on an airplane. And what's your life worth, right? And the life of your family and the life of your friends. Because we're all going to fly at some point. So, yeah, I don't know. That's me putting on my my adult hat, which I don't do very often, as most of you know. Last transmitter battery. Everything is going dead. Andrew Taylor says NTA, need basic specs. What's NTA? EVAFPV says arm mounting looks like the screws will shear before the arms break, which means new midplate too. Also basically zero motor protection. Ew. Yeah, I did notice that there wasn't much motor protection. I wouldn't say zero, but there's definitely not a lot of motor protection. Which is a deal breaker for me for sure. You know, I didn't dig that deep into it because, you know, you either tell me what your frame weighs or you go straight to hell. And they chose to go straight to hell. And I hey, that's your choice. Earthwalker says basically the same argument as right to repair. Voting with your wallet is important. It's true. It's the only power that we have in most cases. Chronic Nugget says, do you have an all-up weight you like for 2.5-inch school plus not toothpick, debating stack plus heavier frame or AIO plus lighter frame? Yeah, 250 or a little bit lighter than that. 2.5-inch rigs at 250 are really, really good. In the same way that like 3-inch frames at like 280, 290, I really dig that. And then 3.5-inch builds at like 330 to 350. That's heavier than most people, but most people don't spend years and years and years and years trying to get their micros to fly as similar to their 5-inch rigs as possible so that they can fly everything really well. Most people just build a micro and then just fly it, and it flies like a micro. It is what it is. It's nice and quiet, whatever. I've been pretty hell-bent for many, many years in figuring out how and why the flight characteristics between 5-inch rigs and micros are different, and trying to figure out how I can match them up as close as possible so that every time I go fly a different rig, I don't have to spend half the day adjusting my flying. Because when you're adjusting your flying, you don't fly all that well. So, yeah. Nobody else really talks about it, which is how I know nobody's doing that work, right? Like, if they were doing that work to try to figure that out, they'd be talking about it, just like I am. So, yeah, that's kind of a thing. Hey, look at that! Where's the OSD? There's the OSD. Will it just fly away to Never Never Land? All right, so we've got a prop that is hitting. So I'm going to arm it, and you guys can listen. This is what it sounds like when there's a propeller hitting something. Hear that? That's no good. first thing you want to check are your battery leads, and in our case, that's the problem. I made the battery leads a little too long on this AIO, and apparently in this frame, they push outwards into the propellers. So I'm just fixing that real quick here. All right, yeah, it's not always the propeller. If it was the propeller, though, all you got to do is go into turtle mode and go full throttle in each corner, and it will self-clearance. I've moved the battery leads out of the way. Now listen. Hey. But yeah, like I said, if you have a propeller rubbing on a duct, all you got to do is go into turtle mode. That's going to spin them backwards. When the propeller blades spin correctly, they bend up a little bit. When you turtle mode them, they bend down. The prop guards, the ducts, are like this. So in turtle mode, the tips of the propellers are going to bend down, and that's going to clearance them on the ducts. And then when you spin them normally, they'll bend up a little bit, and they'll spin totally free. So super, super, super easy if you ever have a situation where you've got props rubbing on ducts. NTA equals not the asshole, Reddit speak. Got it. Thank you for that. Kevin Sumner says, you're not alone. Lack of specs pisses me off. Motor weight with 0 wire should be mandatory for real. At least how much wire used when they took the weight is a big one for me. Yeah. Grey Hat says, thanks again for the shout out. For the shout, man. Got to hook somebody up with some nice HD0 kit after the stream. Love that. All right, yo. VCI 0702 29,000 kV motors. This PID loop is not happy right now, which is weird because this tune is turned way down, but we don't have any bounce back. But we do have, hold on, shitters. Oh, for fuck's sake. We do have some prop wash. See it? See it? So that's not a great start. Motors have decent power, though. We're going to fly a bunch of batteries, so... oh, wow. Oh, shit. Hold on. I'm not going to be able to get out of there, am I? I actually have no idea where it is right now. Where are you at, little fella? What annoying, unrecoverable spot did you crash in this time, you jerk? Oh my god, it's all the way over there. How the fuck did it get there? Hold on. Hold on, please. Hey. 18 grams dry. BT 2.0. 300 mAh batteries, same as always. VCI 0702 29,000 kV motors. That was damn near 0 throttle. And it was flying away. There's something going on with either this AIO or these motors or this tune. Let's take a look at the tune. Yeah, see, this is backed way off. I'm actually going to add a little bit here to see if it pushes it over the edge. Gemfan 1219S propellers. Okay, hold on. Why does it do that sometimes? Yeah, no, this is... Yeah, this is not super flyable like this. The PID tune is... it's running away on its own. The PID tune is at a point where, like... Yeah, every once in a while, it just doesn't spin the motors down, which is a big issue for me. So, let's see if we have a propeller that is out of balance. Easiest way to do that is to hook up a battery, throw it into turtle mode, and just gently spin each motor while you're holding it, right? So we're in turtle mode, arming, and then we're going to just spin each motor. We're just going to feel for the vibrations, right? So here's motor one. Here's motor one. All right, and you want to spin it slow. You'll feel it. The vibrations happen at low RPMs, right? So spin motor 1 up. And now motor 2. And now motor 3. And now motor 4. And you're just trying to feel if there's one motor that is vibrating harder than the others. In this case, it's motor 1, but it's not bad. Motor 1 is not... It's not bad enough that vibrations are the problem. So let's take a look at the filtering. Let's take a look at the tune. Let's jump into Betaflight and see if we can maybe kind of figure this out. It could be antenna related. We've got an antenna that's kind of hanging out here. It could be getting into like a little bit of an oscillation. Let's take a look in Betaflight first. Hold on. Let's just kind of check. Let's do a mechanical check. The motor wires are out of the way. I think I see the problem. So one of these battery leads is pressed up against the frame. And so I'm going to take a guess that that's the problem. Because what that's going to... The reason why they give you these rubber grommets with these things is so that you can isolate the vibrations of the motors and the propellers and the frame from the AIO, where your really sensitive gyro is. This Meteor 65 airframe has a lot less clearance here where the battery leads exit from the Happy Model AIO. This is something that happens when you run all different manufacturers, right? We used to run into this in motorsports all the time. You would get a Maximum Motorsports 3-link setup for the rear, and then you would get a Griggs Motorsports set of lower control arms, and like Maximum Motorsports would tighten up the factory tolerances in one direction, and then Griggs would tighten up the factory tolerances in the other direction, and now the two things don't fucking meet up right, because they've both tried to improve the factory geometry, but in different ways, right? And so we've got a Happy Model AIO in a Beta FPV frame, so we're in this situation where like the location that Happy Model exits the battery leads is perfectly wrong and different than where Beta FPV exits their battery leads. So putting this into the Meteor 65 airframe may have been a mistake. But I'm going to try to just kind of push these battery leads down so that they'll have a little bit more clearance from the frame. If that doesn't do it, though, I'll kind of need to take this out of this frame and put it into another one to give it a fair shot. Because at the moment, I can't evaluate these motors at all. Because with them not wanting to spin down like this, it just creates a situation that flies like ass. And I did not have this problem when these motors were in the Cockroach 65 V3 frame on the RC Car Chase rig. So yeah, that is more than likely the problem. I clearance them as much as I can. Let's throw another battery at it and see if it's better. No real reason to put it into Betaflight. I haven't changed anything in Betaflight since it was flying fine. Here's another Tiny Whoop sticker needing to come off because it was starting to bind up on the frame. This is why I run either the Beta FPV Lava batteries or the Weebleed batteries. All right, there we go. So let's see if that's a little bit better. Hopefully it is. Yeah. Can I get a channel says receive it? Receive it being the opposite of send it. Here we go. All better. Oh boy. All right, so let me take a look at the Throttle Expo. Is it on? It is on. And there's a lot of it. Let's take it from 40 down to 30. And so the midpoint is at 28. I don't know if that's right or not. We're going to take a look at that. So we're going to... Oh, no, it's still doing it. It's still hanging RPMs. All right. Oh, boy. Yeah, I couldn't... Hold on. It could be throttle expo related. 26, 25, 25, 34, 32. All right, let's get the throttle expo down a little bit. The midpoint down a little bit, I should say. Oh, no, it's at 28. It's at the right... It's correct. Let's turn the throttle expo off. Let's take that out of the equation. All right. Give me a minute, friends. Let me just... Tune still sucks. You can see all that... Actually, I'm going to make the tune more aggressive, and that'll really tell me whether or not I fix this problem. I also want to do this because I'm not really willing to fly motors that won't... Look, nope. No, it's bad again. It's way worse. Look at that. Ready? Zero throttle. Ready, ready, ready. Zero throttle. I mean, you can see the throttle on the right there. There it goes. The motor spun down that time. They're spinning down. There, they hung there. I have to back this off. Interesting. Oh, come on now. All right, so the motors have decent power. Pretty much what I would expect at 29,000 kV. Wow, you see that big judder that it did there? What the hell was that? It might have been just a big hit of prop wash. Let's fly it low and slow. Oh man, I can hear it. It's like it's not running smooth. Oh boy. The runtime is also really low, 1:54. But I mean, we were like, hold on. I'm gonna do a full battery, fresh off the charger, and let's take a look at what the runtime is. That'll be the fairest thing to do here. I'm also gonna back the tune way off. I don't want the tune to have anything to do with this thing acting up. It ran clean on the 40,000s. Actually, hold on. I want to secure this antenna a little bit differently here to make sure that the antenna is not the problem. Oh, perfect. I can tuck the antenna in like this. So the antenna is definitely not the problem. All right, so I'm going to fly a backed off battery to really give these motors a chance to have good runtime, and then we'll take it from there. I also am going to back the tune off a little bit. No, I'm not. The tune's already backed off. Oh my God. Okay. We've got issues here. Let me tuck the antenna back in. So this is like a freshly charged battery right off the charger, which might be why that happens. Okay. Yeah, there's something going on here. Something bad is happening. That was pretty much all zero throttle. This is unflyable like this. Wow, yeah, this is a disaster. Yeah, I mean, this is how I tune all my rigs. There's nothing. I mean, I kind of have to do this. Oh man, it's bad. The antenna is still tucked in, so it's not an antenna problem. It's so I can leave this antenna out. I guess let's jump into the filters. I have the filters set up exactly like I do on all the other rigs. There's nothing. I don't know why I'm doing this, but there's a chance that I might have something just straight up wrong. But I just pulled 0702 40,000 kV motors off this that ran totally clean. Yes, I had to turn the PIDs down, but that's because they're 40,000 kV motors. Once I pulled the PIDs down, they had zero. They had a tiny little bit of prop wash, significantly less than this, and they ran clean. And it was getting 3+ minute run times. So yeah, I mean, this is the filtering setup that I run on all these rigs. Maybe this 600 can go up to 800. I doubt that that's the deal, but I'll bring this Q factor down. But again, I shouldn't really need to. Throttle expo is off just for the time being. Dynamic damping is normal. This is all normal. Yeah, there's nothing in Betaflight that's causing this. Let me check something. Get RPM. Where's the RPM filter Q? The Q is at 500, so it's not that either. Maybe, possibly, it's props in versus props out. Boy, do I doubt that, though. D-Shot 300, bidirectional is turned on. 12 motor poles, yeah. Dynamic idle is correct. This is a BMI 270, which is not my favorite gyro, but I have plenty of these rigs on BMI 270s that fly completely fine. So that shouldn't be it. Well, yeah. I can turn up the jitter reduction a little bit. That might help. It won't, but it might. But it won't. Well. Oh. It's the frame. It's the frame. It's the frame. Yeah. I remember. Yep. It's the frame. One of the other things that one of the other big problems I had with the Meteor 65 airframe is that it's so wobbly that this shit happens. The Cockroach 75 V3 frame, it, like, when you do this, it feels like the same amount of wobbly, but for whatever reason, it just resists vibrations better. So yeah, this is a frame problem. Yeah. It doesn't really make any sense that it's a motor problem because I spun these motors up in the motors tab and in turtle mode, and I'm not feeling a lot of vibrations. So that leads me to, is it software related? Is there something that's preventing the AIO from being soft mounted, right? Chase that down a little bit with the wires, although it didn't really help. And then the third option is frame. Is the frame not isolating the vibrations coming from the motors and props, which there will always be, from the AIO? And I remember that with every single time that I've run a Meteor 65 airframe, I have had to cripple the PID tune in order to get the performance out of it. So yeah, I forgot about that. So I need to move this over to a cockroach frame in order to really be able to test these motors. Although I did just add some filtering. Let me try something. Let me look something up here. I can't show you what I'm looking up, but just bear with me for a second here. Hang on. Okay. 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 Gyro. Low pass filter setting. Okay. Dynamic notch count 1. Q 500. Minimum 120. That's interesting. Low pass filter dynamic minimum. Accelerometer calibration. Barometer hardware none. There's nothing really. Eva, are you still in the chat? All right. I don't think we're going to be able to... it's already midnight. We're not going to be able to figure this out tonight. I am going to fly another battery since I did make a couple more changes. And we're going to see if that helps. But... hold on. Let me send a message while I'm thinking about it. Hold on. Let's see how the hell they fly decent with. Okay. All right. So for Wednesday, I might have either this will be in a different frame on Wednesday, and we will fly some more, or I'll have some other stuff. It'll probably be in a different frame by Wednesday. I'm just gonna tell you. Yeah, black box logs would be great, but you know, AIOs be AIOs, and they don't have room for the black box chips. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. There's not a whole hell of a lot that I can do here. Let's try it again. Gray Hat says, put the UAV Tech preset on it and fly it anyway. That is not a good idea. Just randomly throwing presets at rigs, it's not the way. You're gonna lose the current setup that you have. Sure, you can back it up, but pain in the ass. And yeah, just presets they're just not the way. Presets are designed specifically for one individual rig. This is a rig that's having problems. The presets are designed for rigs that don't have problems. This is a rig that has problems, so putting like a clean preset on it it's just not the way in my opinion. Yeah, sure, you fucking throw the dice every once in a while. You're gonna roll a 7, but yeah, I don't like the preset thing. You're changing a whole bunch of stuff at once. It's gonna change the flight performance. It's just I don't like it. I'm not a fan. You guys can do whatever you want, but I would rather work my way through it to actually figure out what's going on than to just kind of close my eyes and point to something. And if it fixes it, well, now I've got a rig that has a completely different, setup than the rest, and it's always going to be like flying weird. I don't know. It's you guys know I'm not a fan of presets, so I'm not going to go down that road. I'm also looking at a filtering profile from another rig that uses this frame, and there's really nothing magical about it. I'm not seeing anything. There's not like a notch filter at a specific frequency that this frame would have problems with that magically makes this other rig that's on this frame fly fine. And like that's it. Like there are 3 filters. There are 4 filters. There's the gyro filter, which we damn near turn off. There's the D-term filtering. There's RPM filtering, and there's the dynamic filter. That's pretty much it. Like using somebody else's preset, like there's no magic in it. Like the presets aren't like this magical mystery unicorn shit turd thing. They're just a slightly different setup of those 4 filters, basically of the 3 filters. And it actually only is like 2 filters, because the RPM filtering, actually it's only really 1 filter. The RPM filtering is either on or off, and then there's either 1 harmonic, 2 harmonics, or 3 harmonics. That's it. So there's no magic with the RPM filtering. The gyro filtering we basically turn off. No magic there. The D-term filtering is just on a slider. You're just moving that slider up and down. I have it fairly down at 1.2. Sure, I could move it to 1, but I don't think that's going to help. And then there's the dynamic filtering. And really the dynamic filtering, it's just a Q factor, and then it's the number of dynamic filters that you have turned on. Pretty much all of the presets have 1 filter turned on, and they're pretty much all 400 or 500 Q. Yeah, there's nothing magical in these presets. This is a physical problem, right? Like, I've built hundreds of these tiny whoops. I've tuned every single one of them. I can tell, like, yeah, I can just tell. This setup, if this had black box, and we spent the next 5 hours diving into black box logs, finding every single little resonant frequency and targeting it and doing all this work, this would be 5% better. This needs to get 50% better. Black box is great, don't get me wrong, but it typically does not make massive changes. If there's a massive problem, it's just, yeah, I've just been down this road so many times, and I've pissed away a lot of time thinking that there would be some magic, and unfortunately I've wasted a bunch of Brandon's baked beans this time with rigs that had massive problems that I was desperate for help. And he tries to help me, and he spends a bunch of time, and we get it 5% better, but it's still nowhere near good enough. And this is an example of that. Like, this has a big problem. And so, yeah, presets aren't going to help it. But I did make a couple little changes. Let's see if they made any real difference. I super, super, super doubt it. I think this is going to be sort of where we end. Don't buy Meteor 65 airframes. Sorry, Betaflight, but I don't know how you're getting your rigs to fly okay on these frames, but yeah, I don't know. And look, it could just be some sort of an incompatibility, that I'm not seeing between the Happy Model AIO and this frame. Come to think of it, it could be the camera plug. I bet you it's the camera plug. The camera plug is mashed up against, and there's nothing I can do about this. The camera plug is mashed up against the frame. You see that? That's probably the issue. That's probably the issue right there. Yeah. I can almost guarantee you that's the problem. But hey, let's see. I added a little bit more filtering. Let's see if it's any better. It is a little bit better. Oh, God! Hold on. Maybe I can actually... Woo! That little stop there. Oh, God. All right, so the hover point... The hover point on these motors is high. I'm just like running into things because I'm used to like the Happy Model hover point. No, it's a little bit better, but it's just a little bit better. It was just not spinning the motors down a second ago. But I think it's maybe Jesus. I think it's maybe just enough that I can actually get a feel for these motors. Jesus Christ on a cracker. What the fuck is happening? So, when I start to crash this much, it could totally just be me flying like shit tonight. But it really makes me wonder if it's just the thing that I'm testing is like drastically different. Really? Jesus Christ. It's probably a little bit of both. But this is now clean enough where we can at least get a feel for the runtime. So let me just do some flying here. And, oh God. And we'll get a little bit of a feeling here. They have some power. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Oh my God. Did I seriously crash it behind the fucking air filter? I feel way better now. Oh my God. Hold on. We gotta get a runtime. We gotta get a runtime on these motors. Hold on. Let me stop fucking around. I'm gonna fly a chill battery. Here we go. Ready? Chill battery. Less crashes, less bullshit. Let's get a proper runtime on these. Ready? Here we go. All right. Fully charged battery right off the charger. Oh yeah, the fucking tune's all over the place. Oh, it's come on. Oh, that frame can go to hell. All right, it chilled out now. It really doesn't like the fully charged batteries. These cookies are from a packet. It is. They are really, really good. They are. I think they're gluten free. I think it's simple something or other. Yeah, they're good. All right, so we're just gonna chill. I'm used to flying with throttle expo, so you're gonna notice I'm kind of bouncing elevation-wise all over the place. 31, 32. Let me actually get the throttle expo on there real quick. I can do this quick. Profile, rate. Turn the throttle back on. I'm gonna put it at 30. Look at this fucking dog. That slow walk. What a jerk. All right. Throttle expo is back on. And it's about right. So we're going to do a totally chill battery, which I don't usually do. If I did a totally chill battery like this with the Happy Model motors, I would get at least 4 minutes, probably like 5. Let's just see. Let's just fly a completely chill battery and see what we get. The time that I spent in the OSD was not counting on the timer, and I wasn't in there for that long to say, like, oh, it drained a bunch of the battery. So this will be a really decent representation of, like, if you just chill out. Oh, you fucking idiot. If you just chill out, what kind of a runtime you're going to get. We're at 2 minutes so far, and we're at 3.5. Oh my god, really? Ooh! Big dicking it down through that dive gate. Come on now! What you know about that? Oh, yeah. That, for anybody that's new, that's a new dive gate that I put up there, and I'm just trying to figure. I'm just figuring out like the coolest ways to drop down through it. Oh god, no! Well, your treats. He just wants to be friends with it. He doesn't want to eat it. He doesn't want to, like... Nah, he just wants to hang out with it. You are a good dog, Tedward. We're up over 3 minutes. That's good. Voltage is down to 3.4. Oh, God. Why didn't I bail on that? There's our low battery, though. 3 minutes and 24. And we're down at 3.3. We're going to bring it in. There it is. So, 3 minutes and 32. That's not the best. Let me show you. This is a rig that's a tiny little bit heavier, but on Happy Model 0702 32,000 kV motors. For this should have less runtime. Watch the difference. I'm gonna fly this the same way. There's no reason that this rig that I'm about to fly shouldn't have less runtime. More powerful motors, heavier. Those are really the two things. I have not done like a super chilled out battery like that on Happy Model motors, so I'm actually really interested to see. So let's try to do the same thing. Hang out up here. Fly around a bunch. We can do some stuff. I'm gonna fuck those cookies up at the end of the stream. Well, I didn't hit it that time, but we tried it. And I think I did another one of those. Oh! Alright. Flew around up here some more. We did like one or two of these, right? Oh god! Oh no, I'm in the cookies! I was in the other can. The other pan, rather. Alright. Oh, you fucking idiot. Come back in here. And then we're just going to chill out down here. There he goes! Hang out with Teddy. Skinny leg man. Hang out with Teddy. Just kind of relax. Alright. Again, just keeping it relaxed, keeping it chill. Let's shoot some gates. We did a bunch of that. When I fly hard on these Happy Model motors, I usually get over 3 minutes with like lots and lots and lots of full throttle blasts. So 3:30 seems pretty short. But, as we always talk about, full throttle blasts only last for like a split second. I think we went upstairs twice with that battery on the VCI, so let's go back upstairs again. One of the things that really eats battery is elevation changes, so it's really important that I go upstairs this second time, because that's a big elevation change, right? We're going up like 12 feet. Now we'll come back down, and... I think I did one or two power loops, maybe, I think. Let's do one. I mean, that's pretty much the same thing. It's the same throttle input as a power loop, even though I fucked it up. I think that's about all the full throttle we used. So yeah, 3 minutes and 30 might be totally normal. I never fly like this. So I figured I would do this to really... give a proper head-to-head to make sure that I'm not speaking out of turn in terms of the efficiency. So we're at 253, and the battery is at like 254, and we're gonna run it down to 3.3. So let's just keep calm. It's very hard for me to fly like this. This is not the way that I fly. This is kind of fun, though, I guess. Not really. Hey. Is this as boring for you guys as it is for me? Oh, come on! That's exactly what I'm trying not to do, is have it get hung up and go full throttle. That's what really eats the battery up. So we're at 3 minutes and 40, and the battery is still at 3.47. See what I mean? These and again, this rig is heavier, and these motors are 32,000 kV instead of 29,000. I have no idea what Happy Model is doing, but their motors are absolute and utter magic. We're now at 4 minutes. The crashes actually hurt the runtime because you got to blast the throttle to get it back up in the air, and the timer shuts off as soon as you disarm it. So, if anything, crashes hurt. We're at 420. Whoa, that battery got low fast. Where's my fucking low voltage alarm? So I ran this battery a little bit lower. But yeah, 4 minutes and 24. So if I... There's your proof. God damn it. Well, I have no reason to lie. I'm not paid by Happy Model. I'm not paid by anybody. I'm paid by you guys. So yeah, they are. If I hadn't run this battery down to 4.24 instead of 4, I would have maybe gotten 10 seconds less. So 4 minutes and 20. Let's just say 4 minutes and 20 seconds versus 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That's a pretty big difference in efficiency. But this is in this Meteor 65 airframe. And that could be causing the PID loop to kind of freak out more than normal. So Wednesday, this will be in. I'm just going to put it into the Conqueror 65 V3 frame. There's not going to be anything special that I can do to the filters. I'm pretty sure the problem is the camera wires pushing up against the frame too hard. Leaving us in a situation where like the AIO is not really soft mounted. We can kind of take a look. Hold on. Here, let me show you. Let me I think I know how I can kind of visualize this for you. Maybe not, but maybe. Here, let's see. So this is a normal this is a normal kind of setup. So here's the all right. So here's the camera cables, and like they're still smushed up against this frame, right? But watch this, right? So if we have proper soft mounting on the frame, the AIO will move. So I'm putting this thing in here, and I'm rotating it, all right? Because I want to push the AIO, and what I want to see is the AIO being able to move. If the rubber grommets are doing their job, the AIO should be able to move a little bit. I'm hoping that we can kind of visualize that. Hold on. No, I'm just pushing the frame away. Nah, I can't really see the AIO move in the frame. I mean, so this is a rig that doesn't have problems. And if you look, the camera wires, they are kind of mashed up against the frame, but they're not mashed as bad. This is like the only thing that I don't like about the 2G4 is that it has the camera plug hanging out the side like this. But yeah, this is a Cockroach 65 V3 frame. And like, yes, they're mashed in there, but they're not mashed in there so bad that you can't get a great tune. This is the Meteor 65 Air, and it just looks like they're more mashed in there. Focus, you jerk. Focus, you jerk. There's so much contrast for you to focus on, you idiot. There we go. Oh my God, I'm gonna light you on fire. So yeah, let's poke at him and see. See if we can really kind of get a feel for this. I mean, on the other one, I couldn't get it to move either. I can't get it to move on this one. I don't know, man. Look, I've tried this frame a bunch, as have a bunch of other people, and it does this. You can't get a good tune on it. I'm over it. It's coming out of this frame. I totally forgot about that. But hey, look, I gave the Meteor 65 airframe another shot. I feel good about that. So don't message me. I'm using the Meteor 65 airframe and it's great. I don't care. That's good for you. It doesn't do anything for me. I've tested it and tested it and tested it, and it's not good. when you mix it with the Happy Model 2G4, which is hands down the best AIO for tiny whoops ever. Curtis Hayes says, throw that frame in the river. Done. Parkour Guy says, what motor did you use for your walk snail Grinderino build? X-Nova 1804 3500s with the M5 motor shaft. And I have 2 more of those motors. We got to get it onto the bench and replace those motors and get that thing back up in the air. Parkour Guy says, I've never used the filters tab. When you adjust filters, what do you adjust? Just like for PIDs, or just touch the first 2 sliders normally? When you change filtering, you're adjusting the width of the filter. So the filter is going to target. Boy, is that a question that we could talk about for an hour. You're adjusting the width of the filter. How much of the frequency band? The frequency band is 0 hertz to 1,000 hertz. The width of the filter adjusts how much of that filter band it is filtering. The other adjustment is where it's filtering. If you push it up, it'll filter the higher frequencies more. If you push it down, it'll filter the lower frequencies more. So that's basically what's happening, is you're changing where it's filtering and how much it's filtering. The dynamic filters move around. The RPM filters move around. The gyro and D-term filters, they used to not move around, but they're now dynamic. So now they do move around a little bit. But yeah, that's what you're doing when you change filtering. You're changing the amount. The amount of filtering is how wide the filter is. And then the frequency range, that it filters is moving it up and down. When you move the filters up, they actually filter less. And they take less CPU cycles the higher you push the filters. But yeah, that's the answer to your question. Sam says, do we really have to wait 10 minutes after flying the 40,000 kV motors? No. Tiny whoop motors cool down like damn near instantly. You do not have to wait 10 minutes. Monkey D. Cluffy's in the house. He says, nice legs. Thank you, dude. Parkour Guy says, we need the cookie recipe. They look good. It's simple. Hold on. It is. Hold on. These are some of my favorite easy to make cookies. So these Sweet Lorens are actually really good, and they're gluten free. But that is not. There it is. Simple Truth Organic. That's it. Simple Truth Organic chocolate chip cookies. These are awesome. I don't think they're actually gluten free. Yeah, no, they're just organic, non-GMO. So yeah, these are my favorite cookies. But typically we get these because I don't do super well with gluten. But these aren't quite as good. These are a little bit more dry. But if you have any kind of a problem with gluten, these are awesome. There you go, friends. You didn't just see anything interesting. Parkour Guy says, do you prefer hard or soft cookies? Hard for sure. Soft cookies go to hell. And Curtis Hayes says, Stevie Wonder mode. I cannot believe I flew that entire fucking 4.5 minute battery with you guys just staring at me going. Oh, this is flying good. It's one Happy Model Motors. 0702. Whoa. What an asshole. Yeah, my Discord is in streamer mode. Actually, it's not in streamer mode. I wonder why it didn't. I wonder why it didn't do anything. Weird. That's strange. It might be because it's so late. Apple goes into nighttime mode after midnight. That's probably why. McBuka says, did you ever see the sick drum solo in Summer of Soul by Stevie Wonder? No. But I will after the stream. Summer of Soul by Stevie Wonder. There we go. Oh, look, there's a movie. Is it from the movie, I'm guessing? I'll check that out. I'll check out that movie, too. Rocket Tech says, love you, gotta go. Thanks for hanging, brother. Earthwalker says, I trimmed the Meteor 75 frame for the camera plug and it fixed my issues. Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense that that's what it is. I'm not going to trim it for that because I would have to cut the entire inside of the duct out, and that's just ridiculous. I'm just going to put it into a frame that works fine, which is the Cockroach 65 V3. Apache Smoke says, a Cache 05 plays puts CiottiFPV... I'm looking for a cache. Question, always thought that the gyro frequency should be higher than the PID loop frequency, but saw both of yours at 3.2. Is that acceptable for builds? Yeah, look, the gyro filters do practically nothing. So most people actually turn them off. I just turn them all the way up. When you turn that filter all the way up, it essentially turns it all the way off. It shifts. So if the filter is affecting, so if this is your full, if this is 0 hertz all the way on the right side of the screen here, and this is 1,000 hertz, which is the typical maximum for the filtering, for the range of frequencies that we filter on these things, the filters are gonna, like in this case, affect this much. Moving that slider all the way up takes this filter all the way up here, where it does practically nothing. But when it's all the way up here, it takes little to no CPU cycles. And if it does a little bit of something up here, that's awesome, because you're not using you're using pretty much no CPU, but then you're getting just a little bit of a safety net. I could turn that filter off and it would fly exactly the same. And most people do. Most people don't run the gyro filter at all. So yeah, that is what you're mentioning there is like old school stuff, where back before the days where the RPM filter and the dynamic filter did like pretty much all the work. And then the D-term filter comes in after everything's been run through D-term and it cleans the last little bit up. So yeah, gyro filters are now pretty much useless. But for a little bit of extra safety, I do that and I push it all the way up. And then it's just there. It doesn't really do anything, but if it does do something, awesome. In the case that you're like full throttle and the RPMs have wound all the way up, because that's the only time that you get vibrations that are up towards 1,000 hertz, right? 1,000 hertz is 1,000 times per second. Think about that. Think about how quick that is vibrating. And so yeah, it's basically not doing anything because you usually don't get vibrations that are that quick, other than maybe when you're full throttle. And hey, a little bit of extra filtering when I'm at full throttle, I'm down for that. Chronic Nugget says, what kind of car guy are you? Mustang and Miata guy. Ford and Mazda. Honda's great too. Nissan is interesting. GM can go to hell forever. As can Shitv. Somebody just got super upset when I said that. But yeah, I've if you think I know a lot about FPV, talk to me about cars. Although I'm starting to forget a lot of shit about cars, but I got heavily into cars as a teenager, and was all the way into it through all my 20s. In my 20s, I spent most weekends at the racetrack, either autocrossing, eventually running the entire South Jersey autocross program. And then I was an autocross instructor for 7+ years. My very first car was an 87 notchback Mustang. Second car was a 96 Mustang Cobra. That car I built for autocross initially. And then I got my 99 Miata. And then the Mustang turned into more of a track day build. The Miata was an autocross specific build, won a couple of championships in New Jersey, a couple of driver of the years with it. Ran out of money. Mustang build stopped first. That ended up getting sold when I lived in Charleston. And the Miata has been stuck at the shop that fucked over T-Pain for the last 4 years. Eventually I'll get it back. I don't have a great spot to park it right now, so I'm not like desperate to get it back. But and it's also when I had the Miata in Charleston, Charleston has some of the worst drivers I've ever seen, and people just ram you for no reason whatsoever. Like either and it doesn't matter if you're parked or if you're driving, people just run into each other in Charleston like constantly. To give you some idea, I drove for 15 years without a single accident. I moved to Charleston. The car got run into while parked 3 times, and then I got run into in traffic twice in a span of like 3 years. It's just insane. The people there are just brain dead. It's just an entire city of brain dead numpties. It's ridiculous. So yeah, the car is just destroyed. Like it was such a nice build when I lived in New Jersey, and then within a few years of living in Charleston, it was just completely demolished. And then for the first time in my life, at 31 years old, I actually got into an accident that was my fault. I ran into the back of somebody. It was like there was a backup of traffic, and there was an empty lane here. I changed lanes, and then somebody over here at the perfectly wrong time, like really quickly drove out in front, and I just had too much momentum and slid into the back of them. And that was like the death the death blow to the Miata. That's when it went to GMG Performance, and they're a bunch of scumbags. So yeah. Chronic Nugget says Mustang and Miata are two polar opposites. Sort of, but not necessarily, believe it or not. They're both made by manufacturers that have some focus on handling, right? Like in terms of American cars, Ford, up until the newest generation of Camaros and Corvettes, GM and Chevy. Well, GM still has no idea how to make a car go around corners. Chevy has finally started to figure it out, but Ford has always made cars that, with a little bit of love, will go around corners. And Mazda is all about, having the connection between horse and rider, which is Shinbai Itai, which is one of the main things in their offices that they would talk about with the Miata development. But yeah, they're both, front engine, rear wheel drive, sure, totally different curb weights and power plants, but very similar in more ways than you would think. And just two of the best platforms for building an affordable. That's the other thing that they have in common, is that they're both so good that they're both super popular, and so the aftermarket is huge. And so if you want to turn one into a race car, you're going to have a much bigger pool of information, right? Other people that have done it. You're going to have a much bigger selection of aftermarket parts, and that drives all the prices down. So they are two of the least expensive cars to build for track days, autocross, yada, yada, yada. And they're just amazing platforms. I miss the Mustang terribly. It was too far gone though. It was a car that got lots of salt living in the Northeast, and it was just a basket case in terms of rust. There will be a point in my life where I get another one. I will almost certainly get another 96 to 2001 Mustang Cobra, because the 4.6 liter dual overhead cam V8 revs to 7,000 RPM, and it is one of the best sounding engines ever produced. The car is a great platform. You can make it do all the things. It's just an amazing car. The soundtrack is the magic though with it. It's goddamn. Ugh. I had like long tube headers on it, and big nasty exhaust. It shot like 5-foot fireballs. What a fun car. The Miata ruined me though. Oh my god, the Miata with some parts thrown at it is absolutely magic. William Loesch says, why does the Mobula 6 2024 canopy suck so bad? I've got a swap for the old Mobula 6 canopy. The motors canopy. The motors are almost good enough, but not quite there. To save weight is the answer to that question. You know, the whole G-string canopy thing is an attempt to save weight, and I wish they would stop doing it. I wish because this canopy is almost as light, and it holds a camera that's more light, that's lighter. So yeah, I don't know. But the G-string canopy thing is 100% an attempt to save weight, but it's at the expense of durability, and that sucks. Chronic Nugget says, my parents run a local car show, and I've been trying to get them to do autocross, but it's just so much for a small team to do. Also, insurance sucks. The key is to link up with your local SCCA autocross group and try to get them to come do it, because they have insurance, and when I was searching for sites, one of the things that I did as the co-chair of the South Jersey Autocross program was help to find a new location, and that location did not need to have insurance. The location just needs to be okay. Your SCCA, the local autocross group, will have documentation about their insurance, and then you'll have to get that to whoever owns the site, and then those people will have to look at that insurance and make a decision. Yes, we're going to let this go down. No, we're not going to let this go down. It seems too sketchy. Most sites will hear cars driving and racing and say, fuck no. You want to stress that it is one car out on track at a time. There's no wheel-to-wheel nonsense. It is the safest form of motorsport that the world has ever known. And there are plenty of YouTube videos that explain autocross that talk about the safety, so probably put that in front of them. But yeah, that's how you're going to do it. You're never going to be able to put on an autocross by yourself. You'll never be able to get the insurance, and there's no reason to do it. Link up with your local SCCA folks, and they might be willing to add an event to their calendar or do like an exhibition event at your car shows. That's how to do it. That's what we used to do. We used to put on autocrosses for the Corvette Club. I forget who else. We're going like 20 years back now. The Corvette Club was always the funniest one, because none of them motherfuckers know how to drive. So we would have our full team. I was the instructor chief, so I would train. At one point, I had 11 instructors under me that I trained up. And so we would have our full team of instructors there, and we would take these Corvette guys out where we would drive their cars for them, and they would just cry like little babies. It was hysterical. It was just the most fun shit ever. And then, like, it was also super funny because there would be like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Corvettes there. And then we would get like 30 people that would actually be willing to drive the damn things and come over to the autocross. So we would have most of the day to ourselves. And then we would do dumb shit like lead follow runs. Like that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite. Probably my favorite autocross edit on my channel is the lead follows that we did at one of these Corvette events. It's completely against SCCA's insurance. So you'll notice that like I don't have SCCA in the name here anyway, anywhere. But yeah, this was hysterical. Oh my God, you'll never really see. This is a Corvette driver about to vomit. You'll really never see a lead follow like this. This is like so completely against the. But like it wasn't an official SCCA sanctioned event, so we kind of got away with it, but this was still kind of sketchy of us to do. This was so fucking fun because like with autocross, the variance between the different cars is really, really cool. And so to have like a lightweight rear wheel drive car, in this case against a turbo front wheel drive car, you know, a second ago we were looking at a turbo all wheel drive car. It was just really, really, really cool to see where we would be faster and slower than one another. And I mean, just yeah, having somebody in your rearview mirror is hysterical too. But this was one of the most fun events I've ever had. This I will never forget this day. This was just such a cool day. This is one of the other instructors. Yeah, that was something that I never thought I would get to do as an autocross lead follow run. Rabbit FPV says, "Do you have any videos of you driving on track?" Yeah, I just showed you that. So there's a whole playlist of Miata stuff, and there's a whole playlist of Mustang stuff on my channel. Lots and lots and lots. I never got any videos of me doing track days because I never did a full track day. I could never really afford a full track day. I would instruct at New Jersey Motorsports Park, and I would get to do like sneak out in between runs and like get 4, 5, 6 laps. I just never had cameras set up. You know, I was into cars back before GoPros. So I was literally suction cup mounting this big heavy bitch. And it was always kind of sketchy. So like I never really had the balls to put that on the side of the car, at a track day. I was okay with it at an autocross because it's fairly small, and if it comes off, it might not explode and I might be able to find it. But you know, on a 2.5 mile long track, it's gone. So I never, and plus I never got out there often enough to actually get a proper video on a big racetrack. But loads and loads and loads of autocross edits on the channel here. Curtis Hayes says, "What's your opinion of the Monster Miata?" It's the wrong engine. As cool as the Ford 5-liter 302 pushrod engine is in a Mustang, it's the wrong engine for a Miata. It's way too heavy. It also makes too much torque. It's the same problem with the LS swaps. The LS is a much better V8 because it's way lighter and way more compact. Actually, it's not that much more compact than a 302, but it's just a way better engine. But it makes way too much torque for the Miata chassis, and for the wheel wells, right? Like the biggest problem with the Miata is that you can't put super fat tires on it. So if you make more than like 250 horsepower in a Miata, you can't put enough tire on it to handle that. I've driven hundreds of Miatas, and I've driven them at like every kind of different power plant at every different power level. And like 250 is the sweet spot. Anything more than 250 and it's just too much. So yeah, V8 Miatas are funny, but they're out of balance. They're completely out of balance. And the Miata is one of the best balanced cars ever, although admittedly their imbalance is a lack of power. So you have to make more power with them in order for them to be like perfectly balanced. But yeah, making power is easy. So yeah, they're funny, but they're a mess. Just Mo says, you look pretty tall. Can you dunk? At one point I could, just barely, but I certainly can't anymore. I'm 43 now, and no way in hell. Chronic Nugget says, would they go out of state for that? I don't believe there's anything in Delaware. The SCCA is the biggest motorsport governing body in the world, and there are very few places in the US that there's not a local chapter. So this is the Northeast division of SCCA. Wow, how is there not a Delaware region? There, like, I don't know what Misery Bay is though. Are any of these in Delaware? SCCA Autocross. How is that not? Oh, here we go. Delaware. Wait, no. That's gonna bring me back to that same page, isn't it? Nope. Wow, is there really not? Brandywine is down in South Jersey. I ran a couple of their events. There you go, Delaware Valley. Yeah, so it's Brandywine Motorsport Club. This is who you want to get in touch with. Yeah, that's right. They are in Delaware. Yeah. I went to a couple of their events. Great group of guys. So yeah, there we go. It looks like they're not. It looks like they're not under SCCA. I don't know how that works. But yeah, there you go. Brandywine Motorsport Club. Hit them up. Tell them what you're trying to do. They'll at least be able to guide you, and they will certainly know if there is, like, where the closest SCCA chapter is. They're a great group of people, though, so just get in touch with them, and they'll totally be able to guide you and tell you if it's possible or if it's not. Sam says, I've seen some really cool K-swapped Miata builds. So K20, K24 Miata is about as good as it gets. That is it. That engine maintains the spirit and the power curve of a Miata and just the 4-cylinder sound. Yeah, K Miatas are like end game shit. The only problem is that the K engines vibrate an awful lot, so it's a pain in the ass to chase down bolts backing out. And then always the pain in the ass with engine swaps is like the gauge cluster and just how do you control it, right? Like the easy button is go to standalone, but that costs a ton of money. But yeah, I mean, if you're willing to go 10 to 15 grand into a Miata, you can do a K swap. And I mean, like, it's super, to get to 250 horsepower, it's going to cost about that much to do it right. Whether you go Rotorex, the other really good way to do it is with a Rotorex supercharger, which is a centrifugal supercharger. Doing it with turbocharging, you run into heat problems, and there's the delay, the boost threshold delay, also known as lag. And it just, to me, turbocharging doesn't really fit the Miata, the ethos of the Miata. Rotorex or K20/K24 are the way to go. It maintains like the purity, to steal an hysterical ongoing joke from Mighty Car Mods, of what the Miata really is and should be, in my opinion. The other way to go is stick with the BP5A and like skim the shit out of the head and get the compression through the roof, and then just YOLO the shit out of it, which Quinn from Quinn Motorsports has done very successfully for an awful lot of miles. So, and that was the route that I went. I had an engine in mind for a while that made 150 to the wheels on a Mustang dyno. So like on every other dyno, it would probably have been like 165, 170. And it had the red line pushed, and it was hysterical. It was just enough power to be really exciting. Unfortunately, that engine was built by an idiot, and it only lasted like 20,000 miles, and now it's got a stock engine in it again, which is boring in comparison, but whatever. Chronic Nugget says, have you heard of the Jag V6 swaps in Miatas? Yeah, they do those in Europe a lot. Same weight as the first cylinder, but so much more power. Yeah, the V6 is an interesting swap. You start to get into the territory where, like, I mean, first of all, it's a heavy engine, so you are adding a significant amount of weight. Because it has more power, you have to start beefing up like bigger brakes, bigger differential, bigger transmission stuff. I don't think you can use the stock trans. The Ks make just enough power where the Ks make not so much power that you have to change the trans out. But yeah, the Jag V6s are interesting. I don't necessarily care for the way many V6s sound. To me, the 4-cylinder 7,000 RPM, 8,000 RPM thing is key for a Miata. But yeah, those V6 swaps are interesting. There's also you can do a J series Honda engine in them. And then with like a little turbo, you can make like 400 horsepower. But again, it's too much. Just Mo says, do you do any off-roading? Not even a little bit. Recently got into it. I was planning on doing off-road FPV reel for this summer. Hopefully that'll be super cool. Off-roading is just a whole other level of money. It's just too much. Chronic says Jag V6 swap makes close to 250 horsepower swap, and would cost a lot less than 15K. You'd be surprised. I'm talking about to do it right. You can do an engine swap for a couple of grand, but it's going to be a nightmare, and it's not going to be a daily drivable car. You're going to sacrifice gauge clusters, you're going to sacrifice engine control, you're going to sacrifice air conditioning, you're going to sacrifice all kinds of shit. I'm talking about doing it right so that you have a car that you can enjoy, not some track rat that's a hot mess that like half your time is spent like trying to not get it to blow up, and then the other half of the time is spent trying to go fast. I don't do that. I don't like these like thrown together builds where like for me like everything has to work. The gauges have to work, the HVAC system has to work. It has to be like a properly running like damn near stock, you know, like OEM plus almost build. That's just me. I was all about the fucked up car thing for many years, and then I got older and was into cars for long enough where it was like, all right, it's worth going the extra mile for something you can enjoy and take on trips and take into the mountains, and you know, it's not like this death trap. Skull 901 says Millville, New Jersey. Yeah, that's where New Jersey Motorsports Park is. I spent many weekends in my 20s, 20 years ago, in Millville. Chronic Nugget says, it's not more weight though. The V6 is aluminum. The engine you swap in was considered by Mazda before they pulled the project. No, I didn't know that. That's very cool. It would, when you look at the whole build though, it does become more weight because more torque. You're going to blow up the rear differential. Now you got to put a Ford 8.8 rear in. That is, that's heavy. You with that rear diff, I think you gain like 150 pounds. Luckily, it's in the rear of the car. Although Miatas are 50-50, so you don't necessarily, it's not like normal cars where you but when you add weight in the rear, it's like a damn near a good thing. Bigger brakes, right? Like bigger brakes you have to do with the Ks because they make 250. But yeah, the extra torque of the V6 is what you don't get with the K, and torque is what will break driveline components and shit like that. So like, yeah, and then the V6 is going to be bigger. That's going to take up more of the room for the cooling system, so you're going to have to get, yeah, I've seen those V6 builds. They're super cool. They're super popular in Europe. I don't think it's too big. It's too big of an engine for the Miata engine bay. You know, the K is a very compact engine, and you really need that extra space for the extra cooling and whatnot, in my opinion. But different strokes for different folks. Chronic Nugget says, yeah, from a couple of builds I've seen on YouTube, you really don't need to upgrade anything else. Some move to a 5-speed for better gearing, though. Yeah, I mean, builds on YouTube is not... Most builds that I see on YouTube are pretty fucked up and pretty janky. And I mean, there's like in the car world, there's like an inside joke that like, you know, YouTube builds are not much better than SEMA builds. And if you're not in the know, SEMA builds are just like, get the outside of the car looking perfect. It doesn't even need to run. Like, we'll push it into the fucking building. And like a lot of YouTube builds are almost at that point. There's a lot of janky builds on YouTube. So yeah, I don't doubt that builds on YouTube, people don't upgrade anything else. But for me, I would need to upgrade other stuff so that, you know, I don't die. Zach says, would love to have a K20 in my BRZ. Not a mechanic, unfortunately. Consider getting first gen Cayman S next. Yeah, the Cayman is a hell of a platform. That's one of my favorites. Cayman with a lightweight flywheel and a bunch of bolt-ons is one hell of a rocket ship. Enough car talk. I'm going to bed. Love you guys. Be good. I'm not ready. Actually, I'm not going to bed. I'm going to check Summer of Soul out. Chronic Nugget with the last comment of the live stream. He says, do you prefer the... I can't see it because YouTube puts this stupid fucking heart in the way. Do you prefer the K to the B? Speaking of Honda K series engines, K20, K24, to Honda's older B series engines, B16, B18. Yeah, the B series engines are great. Don't get me wrong, but they don't make that much more power than the Mazda BP5A. And so, yeah, like if I'm gonna go to a different manufacturer for an engine swap and deal with all of the bullshit that comes with that, it's gonna be a K20. To me, the K20 is the engine for the Miata. It's not like there are problems. It's not like just it's a lot of work, and it's not it's the vibration problems with the K engines are super annoying, and that there's not much of a fix for that. It's just the way that those engines are. If an engine's going to spin to 9,000 RPM, it's going to have vibrations, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. Got to pay to play. All right, friends, be good. Bye, bye, bye. Nope, not ready. Here's a little bit more flying from the Atlanta Autos gig. Love you, bye! See you guys Wednesday. We'll give these motors a little bit better of a chance of success, I promise. Stupid Meteor 65 airframe. Later, friends. Yeah.